when a company gets acquired, sometimes what's easy to see is just the immediate like implications of like, oh, they're going to go into primary care. But even the like, we ourselves just did like a one step beyond that, was like, okay, primary care, and then maybe a little expansion, natural expansion from that is going into pharmacies, competing with pharmacies. That expands their their TAM a little bit more. But then they could do even maybe more steps from there. Like we're thinking. Welcome to the Volt Show. Today we're going to be talking about some fresh breaking news of Amazon acquiring One Medical. If you guys don't know, One Medical, they're a primary care provider. You pay like a $200 membership fee for a year, and you get access to primary care through an app that they have. You can do video, like real-time 24/7 video visits, like instantly, and you could, in theory, do same day or next day appointments with someone in person. But yeah, the news came out today that Amazon and One Medical are joining forces, or Amazon is acquiring them, and it's been kind of making the headlines. People saying this is big news. Amazon's going into the healthcare space. They're a big giant. So anytime a big player moves into some bigger market, it's exciting and it's interesting. But yeah, I don't know, Ted. What do you think? What was your reaction when you first heard this?
Yeah. I think it's important to see. Okay, is this going to be a disruption or not, or is this like a big deal or not? Because it has implications for the company. And in my opinion, I feel like Amazon's doing what Amazon is doing, and I'm not sure if it would be like a large impact on the stock price. Because do you know how big One Medical is right now?
Yeah, we can look it up. So One Medical, they're at 3.3 bill.
Yeah, so
that's after the 70% jump.
So 3.3 bill after a 70% jump. Okay, and then Amazon's over $1 trillion.
Yeah, 1.3 or so.
So they're spending less than a couple percent in order to acquire One Medical. I think what could potentially happen is, if they take a large chunk of the the pharmacy market, as well as some primary care market, then that could add like maybe $100 billion to the market cap of Amazon. But that doesn't seem like a
huge,
crazy amount.
Yeah. So I guess healthcare is big, but when you think about what medical does, they're not like your Kaiser or other like big hospital providers where they provide every type of care, from specialized surgeries to whatever. They're just your primary care provider. They just do your annual checkups pretty much, and then refer you out to specialists for other more advanced, like when they need a more advanced diagnosis or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so that market, I think we looked it up. I don't know if these numbers are accurate, but it was like less than 200 bill or something. It was like right around 200 bill or something like that.
Yeah. So the One Medical market, let's see, is a $260 billion in 2021.
In the U.S., yeah.
Yeah, in the U.S. So even if they were to capture the entire primary care market, which is literally impossible for Amazon, unless everybody gives up their health insurance or everybody gives it up and just goes to Amazon doctors. Mm-hmm. Even if they capture the whole thing, that's only going to move the stock price like 20%. Like they just capture the whole thing. Yeah.
I think that the bigger market that you mentioned is the pharmacy market, right? Because your primary care provider often prescribes you things.
Yeah.
And now if Amazon actually, I saw this ad. I didn't know they were in this, but they have Amazon Pharmacy where they like deliver things to you on time, especially for those who need like repeating, drugs and stuff like that. And then, they're good at logistics and things like that. So they have a pharmacy, branch they have. And if they combine that with their primary care provider branch, maybe they can become a bigger player in the pharmacy space, which is a bigger market size of 500 bill or so, and CVS for comparison is about 120 bill.
Yeah.
So that is bigger, but it's still not that much just looking at that.
Yeah. I think it's important to keep in mind when, of course, it's exciting that a company is growing and acquires something, and we think like, oh, that's going to be crazy. For a normal company, it might be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So if a company is 3 billion in size, or 10 billion in size even,
Mm-hmm.
then acquiring such as this is like really exciting, because if they can grow 100 billion, then that's going to be a 10x.
Mm-hmm.
But for Amazon, that's just part of the expected growth almost. I feel like they're kind of grasping for straws to keep growing.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't really excite me because of how big Amazon already is. And I think Amazon is in like the kind of like the garbage monster mode.
What do you mean?
Like I always imagine this monster that's just like stuffing like everything in their mouth, and they get bigger and bigger until they like overtake the city.
Yeah.
So at this point, they say that they're the everything store, but they're taking it a little bit too literally by eating up everything, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are startups for everything, right? Like the
Yeah.
Stitch Fix, where you get like clothes ordered or whatever it is, and then they have their own version of Stitch Fix.
Yeah.
And then they have their own version of the pharmacy, and they have their own version of like a grocery store, and they have like basically their own version of everything.
Yeah.
So, but then do they actually disrupt that space?
Yeah.
Like they might say, oh, Amazon's going into this, and people think that means the entire market cap of grocery stores is going to suddenly be transferred to Amazon.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened, because we still want to shop at Costco. Like it's gonna change everything just because Amazon is entering the space.
Yeah, for sure. I think it kind of reminds me. I just read a little tweet today about like an internal Facebook email from Mark Zuckerberg, and he was talking about how he met up with some people from Baidu and things like that, and he was seeing how the social media players in China were acting, and they were doing a strategy of basically any new thing that's popping up, like new startup that's popping up, they would immediately try to copy it and push it out onto their platform. And for them, Mark was saying basically, when you do that, you're launching so many different things. It's kind of crazy and hectic, and they're going to be lower quality in the beginning. But if one of them catches on, like you're there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Basically, what they did they did a good job of that with Snapchat. Once Snap had their like 24-hour stories thing,
Yeah.
Instagram pretty quickly, I would say, followed up on that, and then pretty much like ate up Snapchat's like unique advantage that they had with their stories thing. And so I think, I could see Amazon kind of doing that, where they're just like putting a little, dipping their toe in a lot of different places and hoping, similar to our investing style, of the VC investing style, like hoping one of them like will stick and like grow out to be like a huge, like a contributor to their market cap.
Yeah. So maybe they don't know which one of their experiments might blow up, but if it blows up, then it'll be a big deal. But it was a like fairly small investment for them. I mean, like 1 or 2% of their market cap.
Oh yeah,
so
I mean they got a sweet deal.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal to them, and then they can just place a whole bunch of bets like that, and then maybe one of them will work out. And these are fairly large companies. I mean, for most of the time, if you look at a $3 billion company, that's a large company. It's not like anything like a far-fetched startup idea by any means. The VC will do. So it's not like they're going to lose that 1%. It's just becomes part of their pie.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it from an investment standpoint.
So they can keep just doing it endlessly, and then keep doing that. But I would say that they may have trouble with such lack of focus, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely a trade-off in that, of like being high conviction, focusing on just core things, and then versus just spray and pray kind of style of trying a lot of different things, diluting your focus. I don't know. I think it is interesting to think through. Oftentimes, like when a company gets acquired, sometimes what's easy to see is just the immediate like implications of like, oh, they're going to go into primary care. But even we ourselves just did like a one step beyond that, was like, okay, primary care, and then maybe a little expansion, natural expansion from that is going into pharmacies, competing with pharmacies. That expands their TAM a little bit more. But then they could do even maybe more steps from there. Like we're thinking, I don't know, maybe they could even start hiring like, their own doctors and stuff, and being more like going into all of the, more specialized care even, and things like that. But I mean, then the question becomes like, what would be their unique advantage in being able to beat the the current incumbents, like the current leaders in those spaces? Like with Whole Foods, when Amazon acquired Whole Foods, it was interesting because like the Amazon Go stores, like they started using like their machine learning and computer vision to be able to like make shopping a lot easier. You don't have to check out, and that's that's pretty awesome. Like for me, like going to Costco, like you have so much stuff. Like I don't even want to take it out of the shopping cart, But imagine you just get the stuff and you just walk out. Like I don't know. I feel like if they had like similar prices to Costco, which Amazon being the operational efficient giant that they are, if they can get their prices to Costco's prices, and then they added this layer of like like machine learning convenience. Yeah. Like I feel like I would potentially start going to, Whole Foods or whatever their version of their Costco would be, if they could do that. So they can bring in some disruptive tech into like, I think the grocery experience.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a ton of bureaucracy and things that are inefficient, of course, with our medical system.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And we know with like a lot of those inefficiencies, that you just know that it's inefficient. Mm-hmm. I mean, with a lot of the things just through experience that there are probably things to disrupt there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's good. The more people that enter in, maybe there's going to be fresh ideas. It's just Amazon hasn't really done that much, in my opinion. Well, especially recently, post Bezos, right? So Bezos made like a very world-changing decision for Amazon, which was to do AWS. Everyone was laughing at them for going into cloud hosting when they were basically a bookstore, right?
Yeah.
Or an online store.
Yeah.
So, but then that ended up being the cash cow that enabled Amazon to be as big as it is today.
Yeah.
And their valuation is like simply because of AWS. Like a large portion is just AWS.
Yeah. And that's interesting. Like now when I think about Amazon, and I mean, everyone in Silicon Valley, like they know AWS, so they're very familiar. So when they think Amazon, they think tech company and like, like cloud and stuff like that. But I think, going back to those days when they were just like a online Barnes and Noble or something like that, like it would have been really strange for them to go into like cloud stuff,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys aren't Cisco, or you guys aren't, like you guys aren't these like, like cloud, or I guess, like that kind of computing kind of company. And so maybe in the same way, like us right now, we think like, oh, Amazon going into health, that's like really weird. But maybe like 10 years from now, they'll be like this giant like healthcare company. So I think that's why it's always interesting with these guys. But with cloud, what was their competitive advantage that led them to? I mean, I guess they're one of the first movers, right?
Well, not only that, they were solving a real problem, and before people even knew that it was a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that Bezos had some like a visionary aspect to himself. Like he knew that everybody was going to go on the cloud. So if they can provide an easier service for people, then they can capture a large amount of the market share. Mm-hmm. And they were thinking like that before Google was. Yeah. Before other people, like actual cloud companies were thinking like that. Yeah. So I think a lot of that has to do with the founder. Yeah. I wouldn't say that Amazon Amazon does not have a founder at the helm.
I see.
So can they really disrupt these industries?
Well, wasn't AWS actually from the mind of somebody else? Like who's the current CEO now? Adam Silipsky.
Yeah, well,
That's AWS CEO.
yeah. So what's the Amazon CEO?
Andy Jassy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think he
yeah,
was
Andy
the one. I
Jassy.
think he was the one who came up with the AWS like idea. Maybe
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah, we can look into that.
Yeah, I mean, all I remember is Bezos was on a magazine cover and everyone was making fun of him
Yeah.
for doing AWS.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And at least for now, we haven't seen them do any disruptive stuff or come up with anything disruptive. So far, it seems like it's the copycat strategy of just copying everything and then trying to see what works. But I haven't really seen that disrupt stuff before.
I see. Yeah.
So
I see.
yeah, I mean, if you guys have any ideas, feel free to leave some comments below.
How would Amazon take a unique approach to healthcare, to primary care, pharmacy, the health space, and use their unique advantages, or be the first to innovate on something, right? Like they were the first to innovate with the cloud computing. Yeah, so I'm looking here. It was Andy Jassy and Jeff Bezos. They together came up with the idea of cloud computing. So I mean, It seems like there's one, like the CEO now is still, somewhat innovative.
Yeah, he has some potential for growing Amazon further.
Yeah, some innovative ideas up his sleeve, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting development. I wouldn't say it's a groundbreaking, like, sometimes you see something and you're like, hey, everything comes together now. This is gonna be crazy. Like this is like the next phase of Amazon. Right?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's that. It's like Amazon's already dipped their toe into pharmacy. They already dipped their toe into clothes and into like grocery, into like a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just one piece of the puzzle.
Another seed that they're planting.
Yeah, it's actually not even a piece of the puzzle. It's just another try at something.
Yeah,
to just keep growing. Basically.
Yeah, and to see if it's a stepping stone to something. I think for this one, I am not as confident that it's a. I don't see as clearly a stepping stone to something even bigger that they can uniquely like tackle and do well. But yeah, it is something, and maybe we're missing something. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Yeah. I think they're, on the other hand, this is a little teaser, a preview of, I think when Microsoft, acquired.
Yeah. Let's not tease too much.
So that I think was a big.
That was big. That was big.
At the recent launch.
Some things are like really big, and then you're wondering, wow, how can people not realize how big this is?
Yeah.
It's like there's all this news, and then you see something, and you're like, whoa, that's big, and you look around and you ask someone else, and they're like, what is that? Like,
yeah, they're like, oh, that's a cool, nice little thing.
How's that big, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I feel like that with Tesla too.
Uh-huh.
And people are saying, oh, it's not a tech company, and then you see what they're presenting with AI and with full self-driving, and it's just like, whoa, that's big. That's gonna change all of society.
Yeah.
Like in 10 years, it's gonna be like insane.
Yeah.
But then for most people, they would look at that and they're like, oh, I don't really see what the big deal is. Tesla's not a car company, Tesla's not a tech company, so they're really overvalued right now because they're not a tech company.
Mm-hmm.
But if people really realize that they are a tech company, then them at 700 billion and Apple at 2 trillion just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because the product lineup of what Tesla has is so much more exciting, in my opinion, than the lineup of iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
And then so much more world changing for the next decade.
Yeah.
Like self-driving cars, AI, robots, all this stuff is gonna change the world way more than iPhones.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you can sap out as much as you can out of people, but at a certain point, they're not gonna pay more than, like $5,000 for a phone, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe
like how much better
$1,000 you can do it, and then they're now pressing on $1,500.
Yeah.
But like, is someone gonna pay $5,000? No.
Yeah.
And for Apple to keep growing as they are, their only strategy is to keep raising the price.
Well, I mean, that's definitely one part of it.
What else do they have, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're working on their AR, VR stuff, so that's like...
Yeah, so they'll have to get AR, VR working to the point where people would want to pay $5,000. Like, they could say, hey, this helps me so much, I'm going to pay $5,000. Like, they have to do that, right?
Yeah.
So is that easier to do, or is Tesla closer to what they're achieving?
Yeah, I think with Apple, with the AR, VR, there's a lot of people in that space. And I mean, obviously, like Meta, or Facebook, now Meta, like they literally changed their name.
For it, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like obviously putting a lot of effort in there. And so there's some like really big competition in that space. Whereas with full self-driving, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think maybe some viewers might think it's not as much of a lead, but
no. Tesla's the only one, basically. Like,
you can watch our other Tesla videos to kind of understand why we believe Tesla's so ahead.
Yeah, Tesla's the only one, but basically what it comes down to is if it saves someone 2 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
That's 10 hours a week, and that could be like 25% of your working time or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then the value of that is, your salary, 25% of your salary, basically, in terms of what that would mean for people having it back.
Yeah.
And you already see that. Like, people are willing to take a 30% pay cut in order to work remote. And it's already like reflected in, most people are willing to get a pay cut. And, but then that's just a reflection of that, but maybe less so if there were self-driving cars, because it fulfills that need, right?
Yeah,
that job.
And that's only the commute use case you're talking about. Like, there's other industries that would be potentially just like we talked about, food delivery. Like, imagine that the cost of food delivery going down a lot more because you have an automated car that can pick up and deliver food for you.
It would change everything, because it's not just it's $20,000 for that one person, right?
Yeah.
But then, what if it was? But that's only 2 hours out of the day. But an autonomous car, you can have it run like 24/7. Not 24/7. Maybe 12 hours out of the day, right?
Yeah.
Or actually 15 or 16 hours out of the day. So it's not just 1 hour. It's like 16 hours. So while you're at work, it could be going back and forth and giving everybody rides and doing all that other stuff. So it's really high utilization. I think that's another thing that isn't intuitive about autonomous cars. You can have 1 million cars on the road, and people think, oh, okay, that's just 1 million autonomous cars, as if it's like 1 million like people having cars. But it's actually the strength and the effect of 10 million cars, because the utilization is so high.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that has like an impact. I think with the AR VR stuff, which is like augmented reality, virtual reality stuff, I think the value add there is, at least from a work standpoint, is it can make people faster at what they do. So if you're assembling something, they've shown like proof of concept of this, where they show like a laser on the exact tool you're supposed to put, and then where they're supposed to put it. So they pick it up and they put it there, and then without training or without an instruction manual, you can work a lot faster. And if you can save like 50% on the training time, and say training time is 10% out of that person's year, then you just saved 5%, right? 5% efficiency, that's probably worth like $5,000 or $10,000, right? So then you could see the immediate value of that, and maybe there's something else that the AR, like if you had like the Iron Man like overlay, it could help you and say, oh, this is this, and maybe it could help you and add like 10% to your efficiency or something.
Yeah.
But I think though it's like what Tesla's doing is different, because you can get a lot of value to your market cap. If you provide value, then it's going to add to your market cap, right?
Yeah.
You could do it through AR, VR, but you could also do it through like a robot. Like, like what if you could replace like 100% of the time?
I see. Yeah. Like
that,
instead of making your work more efficient, you just literally have something else do it for you.
Yeah. Like completely. So not 5%, but like 100%.
Yeah.
So in terms of the actual impact and the value of that machine, it would be way more, right? So the max value of a machine, that makes you 10% more efficient might be, a certain amount, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe
30%
of your salary.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But the max value of something that like completely
Replaces
you might be a lot.
Yeah.
Because people get paid a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, I think people might think it's really far off, like including you.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's a lot closer than we think.
Yeah, I
think it's within 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think?
You mean the robot?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one a little more.
No, I'm like so sure it's within.
I think maybe
within 10 years.
definitely. I could see definitely some use cases being replaced by a robot in 10 years. Yeah, for sure. I don't know about like a wide range of use cases. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to be every single job in 10 years. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think even if it replaces some jobs and like say those jobs are 30,000 a year or 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Then is that machine worth, like $100,000?
Yeah.
Like, well, I think a lot of companies would think that it is worth it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, all of this is in a theme of basically, expanding TAMs, right? Expanding your total addressable market for these different companies. Amazon's trying to do that with healthcare, One Medical acquisition. Tesla's doing that with their full self-driving and their Optimus, their Tesla bot. And so we'll see what happens. If you guys have comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below about what Amazon might be able to do that we're not thinking of.